Hello, my name is Michelle Kapmeyer. I am a high school teacher. I'm certified K-12 Spanish and as a Strategist 2 LDBD in special education. My study was on the effect of self-efficacy on reading comprehension. Why did I do this study? Well, my participants, there were 9 of them, all have individual education plans, IEPs. Most of them show low effort in school. They believe the school is dumb, that they cannot learn or do not care. All 9, even those without a reading disability, have displayed low reading comprehension in their English courses. To go along with that, over half of U.S. high school graduates were not proficient in reading on the National Assessment of Educational Progress's Nation's Report Card in 2015. On the same report card for 8th graders, 34% were proficient in reading. In Iowa, only 36% of 8th grade students were proficient in reading on the same report card for 2015. Closer to home, on the Iowa assessments in the years 2014 to 16, focusing on students with IEPs, only 27% of 8th grade students with IEPs who took the Iowa assessments were proficient in reading. For 11th grade, only 30% of students with IEPs were proficient in reading. A possible solution, I thought, might be using the growth versus fixed mindset theory from Dweck, 2006. I thought if we could boost self-efficacy for the students, for the 9 participants, then reading comprehension would improve as well. Past research has shown that low self-efficacy is correlated with lower scores in reading comprehension, according to Clausen 2010. A relationship was found between negative self-perceptions and inattentive behaviors and low literacy skills. For adolescents, a reading skill deficiency coupled with a decline in reading motivation makes closing the reading gap more difficult. If students believe that task completion is possible, then effort to complete the task will increase, we hope. And according to Daggett and Hasselbring, students who struggle with reading do poorly in their language arts classes, but also are at an increased risk of dropping out of school. The gap in the research is in fostering self-efficacy to improve reading comprehension, specifically with adolescents with learning disabilities, grades 9 through 12. Dweck states that with practice, a person with a fixed mindset can move to a growth mindset. The purpose of this ABAB design study was to investigate the impact of positive self-efficacy on reading comprehension. There were 9 participants with learning disabilities, ages 15 to 18. If the participants could build a growth mindset, then reading comprehension would improve. The dependent variable was reading comprehension, and the independent variable was self-efficacy strategies. Again, 9 participants. The mean age was 17, but students were in grades 9 through 12. 8 of the students were Caucasian. 1 is a mixed African American and Caucasian. There were 2 female participants and 7 male. All participants had an IEP. 5 of the participants have a diagnosed reading disability, and 3 of the 5 were not proficient on the reading Iowa assessment. Of the 4 participants who did not have a reading disability, none were proficient on the reading Iowa assessment. Participants took the informal reading inventory to establish a reading level because of discrepant data about reading ability. The hypothesis was that if participants received self-efficacy instruction, then their reading comprehension would increase. This ABAB design study was 8 weeks in length. During phase A1, that was when the pretests were done to establish a baseline in self-efficacy, and then do reading grade level and reading comprehension percentages. The first test in phase A1 was the informal reading inventory, 8th edition, to determine the appropriate reading level by grade for each student, and this assessment was done with an instructional coach in a one-to-one setting. The second pretest was the 13-item self-efficacy questionnaire, and this was used to establish students' self-efficacy beliefs. It was taken individually online with students' school-issued Chromebooks, and the reliability was alpha 0.9. The third pretest then was using the Jamestown Education Timed Reading Plus books to assess reading comprehension, both recall and understanding. Each student took a test at their appropriate reading level as determined by the IRI, and the Jamestown test was done individually on paper and pencil, and each participant could look back at the passage while answering questions. In phase 1B, students learned and practiced growth mindset. During the first week, it was 3 days, and in the second week, 4 days. We had a series of videos, class discussions, and individual activities done on paper. There was also free writing where students, when I say pre-writing, I say they typed a paragraph where they expressed their ideas without grammar or spelling points deducted. So the point was to communicate their ideas about growth mindset. A reading comprehension test was done at the end of phase B1 using the Jamestown Education Timed Reading Plus editions for each student. During phase A2, no self-efficacy strategies were explicitly taught. There was no instructor-led discussions on positive self-efficacy, and there was no testing over self-efficacy or reading comprehension. In phase B2, students reviewed and practiced growth mindset again, 3 days in week 1 and 3 days in week 2. Similar to phase 1B, we used videos found on YouTube, class discussions, individual work and writing. The post-test survey was done at the end of the week with a 13-item self-efficacy questionnaire and the post-test reading comprehension assessment using the Jamestown editions. The results. A dependent samples t-test was used to compare reading comprehension scores from the pre-test to the mid-test, from mid to post-test, and from the beginning, the pre-test, to the end, post-test. The alpha was 0.05 for all statistical tests. The hypothesis, if reading comprehension and self-efficacy increased, it would be determined that self-efficacy training led to improved reading comprehension. The findings did not support the hypothesis. Self-efficacy did improve from the pretest to the post-test, with the mean moving from 73.3 to 77.6. The dependent samples t-test showed improvement in self-efficacy scores from the pretest to the post-test, with T 0.217 and P 0.416. The dependent samples t-test showed improvement in reading comprehension from the pretest to the mid-test, T equaling 1.214 and P 0.259. From the mid-test to the post-test, Reading comprehension scores did not improve, T equaling 0.244 and P 0.813. From the pre-test to the post-test, we also did not see an improvement in reading comprehension, with T equaling negative 0.547 and P 0.599. As you can see on the table, you can see how from the pre-test to the post-test, we did have an improvement. Pre-test to mid. But their scores fell again. They improved slightly, but not great from the pre-test to the post-test. The standard deviations were quite large. Interpretations. Results from this study do not support Dweck's fixed versus growth mindset theory. Dweck states that while mindset is a strong belief, a person can move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset with practice. Other researchers' findings support positive self-efficacy, leading to improved academic success. Interpretation. Self-efficacy beliefs can have an effect on the amount of effort put into a task and the persistence with completing that task. And Prochnow et al. Found a relationship between negative self-perceptions and inattentive behaviors and low literacy skills. For these students, self-efficacy training did not lead to improved reading comprehension. There may not have been enough support for students to improve reading. Maybe a growth mindset learning was not enough. More research should be done specifically with adolescents ages 15 to 18. More research specifically with adolescents with IEPs. Future research would probably have better scaffolding between self-efficacy learning and reading comprehension, or more reading comprehension support skills, and a better qualified researcher for future studies would be recommended. Limitations. The research was conducted by an inexperienced researcher. While the mean age of the participants was 17, it must be noted that the students were in grades 9 through 12, and there is a large difference in the maturity level in this group. Participant motivation also varied from day to day. Maybe that is a possible reason for the gap in research for this age group. Future studies should be done by a more experienced researcher with better methods and results. Better methods including some non-academic reading techniques taught, along with academic reading techniques appropriate for adolescents. I would also recommend that participants' age be closer, maybe 2 years or less. Thank you for your time.